Hi, today is going to be a little bit different. I feel pressure. I feel slightly off. Been shedding, reflecting a lot. It might have something to do with what I'm about to share. So, we went to the gym anyways, got rest, and here we are. So, let's get into it. Some things in life don't resolve through forgiveness or understanding. And I know this because I've tried that for most of my life. And for the longest, I felt like there was something wrong with me because belonging never really felt possible. I kept trying to adapt, to gain more understanding, to explain myself better, to hang on to the hope that if I would just gain more perspective, things would change. But they never did. It took me years to understand that I didn't came into my family to belong to it, but to differentiate from it. I moved in and out of houses over 14 times when I was very young, and I never arrived anywhere. I never felt like I had a home. That forced me to find a home within myself, to become self-referencing, to orient myself internally because there was nothing outside of me I could lean on. And instead of being held by the elders around me, I had to carry a lot of responsibility. I had to anticipate, constantly scan for inconsistencies, possible threats, having to be strong all the time. I never felt that I belonged anywhere. Some families don't produce safety. They produce contrast. My father didn't want me. My mother carried more than any woman should and was deeply wounded. I believe she loved me in the only way she was capable of. But it wasn't love that reached me. It was fear, instability, unpredictability. I never ever felt safe. I never felt that I could relax or soften, just be. I was under constant high pressure. And because I felt everything deeply, I could understand most things intellectually from a very young age. But as a child, understanding doesn't create safety. So I learned to become self-referencing very early. It's a costly process, but it shaped me very deeply. I didn't build my identity through belonging, but through deep alignment with my own internal truth. My system rejects incongruence. It doesn't accept false harmony. And I cannot lie to myself for the sake of attachment. That started very early. There's a very specific ache in realizing that people can't give what they don't have and still feeling the full weight of what that means for your life. Eventually, I stopped asking why they were indifferent. I stopped arguing with reality. And that is where something started to shift. The pain didn't disappear all of a sudden, but it became way less consuming as soon as I stopped needing it to be different than it was. Sometimes we think the solution is to let go, to remove the past, to extract it from our systems like it never existed. That's not how it works. And I like this metaphor. It's like carrying a bucket filled with ice, and those ice cubes are sharp. So every time something gets triggered inside of you, they move, they cut, it hurts. So you try to throw the ice out, you try to empty the bucket, you try to get rid of the pain entirely, and then you start to realize that those ice cubes are made out of your own water. It's all yours. You can't remove it without removing yourself. The only way to change the sharpness is warmth, presence, to stay with it long enough for it to melt. The ice doesn't disappear, it just changes form. It becomes coherent again. That was a major shift for me. I stopped trying to amputate parts of my history and started to hold them differently. Not ignoring them, not spiritualizing them, but allowing them to fully integrate. That is where understanding becomes useful. But feeling is the ground. Understanding is the architecture built on top of it. If you try to build the architecture before the ground is visible, everything will take an unnatural form, or even collapses with time. And I didn't bypass my pain. I allowed myself to feel it all, to let it destabilize me, to let it show me where I was still negotiating with reality, where I was still giving my own power away. That's where undeniable clarity came from. There's a lot of noise around this whole idea that we choose our own parents, our own families. That statement isn't necessarily false, but if we use it without context, it can be very damaging. Choice on a soul level isn't the same as human consent. It doesn't mean you preferred it. It doesn't mean you agree with it in your conscious mind. And it doesn't mean that you should endure it gracefully forever. And of course, we are going to carry ourselves with grace. But from a structural perspective, incarnation is less about choosing people or situations. It's more about choosing conditions of contrast that activate certain configurations of consciousness. Contrast creates perspective and orientation. It doesn't mean you stay no matter what. It doesn't mean you tolerate everything. And it definitely doesn't mean that you spiritually override your own inner truth, your own nervous system. Higher truth does not demand proximity. It requires coherence and you being true to you. Because you refuse to build your identity by constantly needing to survive or overcome something. The contract, if you want to call it that, isn't fulfilled by endless endurance. Okay, that's quite intense. Sorry, guys. I warned you before. I warned you. It's fulfilled by becoming, embodying what the person's system or situation lacked without reproducing its dysfunction. Real evolution isn't transcending pain through dissociation. It's understanding the structure, honoring what happened, and stop pretending that there was love and safety where there wasn't. Understanding does not cancel out grief. You can intellectually understand why someone is the way they are and still feel completely devastated that they couldn't show up the way you needed them to. It's not either or, Both can be true at the same time. And releasing what is standing in the way of your growth doesn't make you disloyal, cold, or egotistical. It makes you free. For me, practically, it looked like stopping the internal negotiation. Stop overriding the intelligence of my heart and soul. I no longer felt the need to explain myself. It looked like not trying to repair something that required two cooperating people when there was only one willing. It looked like grieving without constantly conceptualizing my pain or needing it to turn it into a spiritual lesson. It looked like letting the reality be exactly what it was. That is where the sharpness took other form, where I could feel more and more softness around the things that had hardened me, because I stopped fighting its existence. Some things don't resolve through forgiveness. They only resolve through deep integration, through having clear boundaries, through inner coherence, and the courage to stop calling things okay, enough, or even love, when you know in your body and your soul that it's not.